We're live.
So I'm sitting in between to introduce you guys. We've been kind of looking at some technology things and have questions and have a couple people come in and talk to the board about technology, connectivity, you know, things you can offer us. And I happened to run into her at Dee's Diner, and I said, oh, cool machine. So we got to talk. And I said, hey, I just ran into this person, and would you guys like to meet him? And they said, oh, absolutely. So that's basically what we're here for. We have, right now we have a gentleman from town who kind of helps us month along, but we have some other questions and some help that we needed to get done. Sometimes we hire his company to do it, but a lot of times they're super busy and we don't really get him in here as much as we probably need him. I know we were talking at one point and heard that I've always had the question of, we don't have a server, we have a tower acting as a server. So one of my big questions is, I can do remote app with our financial package, but can I'm trying to think of the name of the product until Monday, VPN. Can I VPN in on a tower that's acting as a server? So we kind of have been asking around for that question and haven't ever gotten an answer on it. So it's those kind of things that we're looking for. This is our Board of Selectmen, and they probably have some questions for you. And I'm basically here to try and talk the technology. I'm not that great at it, but I do have a little bit of knowledge as to what we're doing. So here we are, and I'm going to let you guys take over.
First, I'll start off. I'm Ben Thompson. I'm the chairman of the board. So just do introductions if you want.
I'm Roy Seeds. I'm a selectman here in town.
I'm Paul Netto. I'm a selectman.
Nice to meet the three of you.
Nice to meet you both.
My name is Hamblen, and I'm Vice President of Sales, Engineering, and Marketing at Mosaic Technology. So, and we work in a number of different vertical markets, a number of different technologies, and been in business for about 22 years as Mosaic Technology.
My name is James Drusen. I'm the Chief Architect for Mosaic Technology. I do all the pre and post sales, implementations, design work for pretty much all the different vertical markets. We've done different cities, education, corporate, Fortune 500.
Melanie Layton, solutions engineer, and I do a little bit engineering and some sales.
Okay.
What is solutions in engineering? What does that entail?
Excuse me.
All sorts of things.
Okay.
Work on different
Okay.
servers, applications. I look at software for companies and decide whether or not it's going to work for them.
Okay.
All the way to installing it, helping the end user learn how to use it.
Okay.
Can I get your history request from the audience?
So both of these resources reside in Maine. Mel lives in BZ, Daniel lives in Herman. I'm between Milton and Searsport. I was born and raised in Maine, lived in Maine my entire life until I went to the University of Maine system, and then when it was time to go to work, found a job in New Hampshire, moved there, and but all my family is from Maine. That's where I was born and raised, going back very early years.
Where are you based out of?
The corporate headquarters is based out of Salem, but we have 4 locations in total.
Okay.
We're in Seattle, that supports our West Coast operations, Portland, Oregon, and Denmark as well, for international. So Daniel and myself, the two resources that are on my team, and Melanie support all of those offices.
You say Salem, New Hampshire, or Mass?
Salem, New Hampshire is corporate headquarters. So we've been around for a very long time working in various aspects of technology. We started as a different company, Magnet Computer. That was a storage technology that our CEO developed. He sold that to EMC. I don't know if you're familiar with them, They're the largest storage company in the world. So if your data is sitting somewhere on disk and it's on a storage product of some type, EMC is the largest of any type of company like that in the world. So he sold that to EMC and went to work for the EMC, which was Egan. And when he went to work for them, he had noticed displacement of equipment, started a business that dealt in the secondary market, refurbished equipment, that may also be of interest to you. So we see a great deal of equipment come through on the secondary market that we test. We provide for certificates of data destruction to various companies like EMC and others to this day. So that's about 50% of our business. So as far as your needs, do you have a certain questions that you want to ask about what your needs are when it comes to technology? Because there are no stupid questions. You can feel free to ask whatever you want. And it's certainly things that we touch from the desktop to what we call yourself a user, an end user, to wherever you're storing that data and protecting it. If you have concerns about taking payments from the residents and using credit card, we can talk to you about PCI compliance. We touch all of these things.
Yeah, whether it's security issues we're not addressing as far as, data breaches and things like that, something we need to look at. Some of the other issues that Jeanette's already explained as well, things we've talked about in the office, that servers and.
Yeah, and you had mentioned if you find being stored somewhere. Well, that's a good question. I did have a financial package up on, they do a Gemini backup system through Harris local government, which has our package for Trio. So we're doing that right now, but where the rest of it is, I've never really gotten an answer on that. So it's things like that. We had somebody start the other day, and I need him to be able to access this tower acting as a server. So I'm waiting a couple of days, for somebody to come in and hook us up with that. So it's things like that. Just things like that. And I know if there's, some idea that you can give these guys, I think you get the feeling they know what they're talking about. I was very impressed when I was talking to Herb in the parking lot. I don't know if there's some questions that you guys want to talk about to make sure that these guys may know what they're talking about. I know a lot of people will say, I don't know about computers, but you find out that that's not true. So I know at some point they'd like to get some idea too. This is their first time that they've gone out and done these kind of things. And they'd like to get some idea of what the costs are, but certainly not in a public forum, So maybe you could email it to Ben or call me, and I can email you Ben's email, and then you can share it with the board, because we know that you don't like to send those out in a public forum until they're actually disclosed to everyone. But I'm not sure what you guys have for questions. I know we have the server acting as a database. Haven't never been able to find if it's backed up. My current Army person is not hooked up to the server yet. He doesn't even have access. I'm kind of waiting for help to come in and make that happen. You've had questions about taking your laptop out when they're also the assessors for the town. And they want to take the laptop out into the town and be able to update the program, which we would need the VPN to get into this server, make those things happen. Because Trio does have
And
app.
pictures and things like that.
So I'm not sure what other questions you guys have.
Do you have a technical administrator of some type that works, or are you kind of trying to juggle all the pieces and figure out what's needed and work with it?
That would also be something that we would definitely be looking for.
Okay.
What's a good idea? What's coming up? Should we buy Windows 7 or 8? How should we lay this out? What kind of TIF? I call them a TIF plan, implementation plan. We have some XPs in here that are extremely old. Yes, I'm having that same feeling. So how do we go about implementing this without, really, we don't have a lot of money. We're a $2.2 million town. How do we implement something like that? I would definitely be looking for help with that.
So you're probably looking at remote
That
services as well.
upgrading and,
Yeah, I'd say you probably want to look at an assessment first would be a good place to start. Since you're really trying to get your hands around what the needs are and how you transact business electronically and where that data is and different things that have to be provided, I'd say we start with the one-day assessment and then go through everything that they do and then make recommendations on what you should be looking at and where you should be spending your time.
yeah.
And you're not, like you said, you have a $2.2 million budget, so everyone that is under different compliancy regulations still has to deliver within a budget.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So there are definitely things that are shared with us that we need to address in maybe a multi-year plan that someone can't afford to address in 1 year or maybe even 2 years. It's usually a longer term plan for some of those clients. So that may be the recommendations that we make to you are recommendations that you can bring back to in your budgetary process to the voters. Make sure that you're addressing areas that need to be addressed, especially when it comes to simple security requirements.
Yeah, exactly.
And other areas that you're not familiar with and you wouldn't be in your role, that we can help advise you on. And if you are at least covering that and putting that message out to everyone, you're covering the town. You're messaging what's needed.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you match, there's a lot of different ways to meet requirements. And they're all different solutions from different manufacturers. We can help you be frugal with those assessments and match what perhaps meets the budget and meets a basic requirement and then talk to you about maybe longer term goals. So we can help you with that. And that would be probably starting off with just a simple one-day assessment. Would you agree with that?
Just get, understanding of everything that you're currently doing, and then we can start discussing where you want to be and where you need to be.
Ultimately, we'll, when we get to that point, we're just putting feelers out right now. Obviously, we'll bid it, we put out the bid. I think that's basically some of where we're at. We've already reached out to another company as well and had them come in and they kind of give their sales pitch. Are you interested in even, attacking a small town? You've got to see who's interested and who's not. Sounds like you guys would be. So price-wise and things like that, obviously would be a bid process that would be sealed at that point. But roughly, you can give me a rough idea, hourly rates and things like that. I don't know if you have a typical rate that you charge or normally or.
It does depend on the service and what you touch, because not everything has the same rate. And it depends on whether or not it can be supported remotely or whether or not you need somebody on site. So you probably have a pretty good mix of rates depending on what the requirements are. We wouldn't really know that until we did an assessment and determine, where you need help.
Do you help write bid packet,
Sure.
bids to
Yeah,
help us
absolutely.
out? I kind of did one, but I don't know.
Yeah, we respond to a lot of RFPs. So request for proposal or request for bid. So you have two different, processes that you can follow.
Usually an RFP, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usually an RFP.
Well, it sounds like that would be the better way to go right now. Would be like a multi-year proposal,
It would.
Yeah.
So and we would have to do an assessment first to determine what that RFP should entail. And then we can help you build it. You can put that out there to, as many companies as you want to. And you want to keep it generic. So you don't want to specify. We'll see many bids that come in that we work on that specify specific equipment. You really just want the requirements and let people work on, positioning what they feel is the best fit and come up with their own solutions. So, but we respond to a lot of different types of RFPs, and as a matter of doing business. And some of the companies that we work with, if it exceeds a certain dollar amount, they have to go out for, an RFQ or an RFP, or an RFP, depending on what the policy is.
Okay.
So that's how I would suggest starting and determining what to put into that RFP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very this is a whole new process for all of us. I've worked with some of the things, doing interviews with some IT people and looking for packages, especially around Y2K. I'm dating myself, but I think for all of us, it's kind of a new process moving forward, and I really appreciate you coming. Do you guys have any questions or?
I did, but I lost it because I was listening to you.
It doesn't happen often, so.
If we put together requirements that you should be looking at different things, then you'll have questions.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a background in the, it's difficult to cover everything and understand where those questions should be.
I know, that's kind of where we're trying to grip
Mm-hmm.
right now is.
Do you guys do other municipalities currently?
Mm-hmm.
You do.
Yeah, nationally.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just did a project at Cities Centralia. We did SeaTac, that's Seattle Tacoma, combination of communities there. We've done large and small. Town of Hudson, we combined simple simple infrastructure that supports the police and admin. We were able to segment both, so they were secure. They were able to use the same systems.
No.
Because they had the same concerns about being able, affordability. And we had to deliver against certain requirements.
When you say remotely, you would connect into their computers from an outside source, right?
Yes.
And assess what they have now, and then make a recommendation to bring it all together. You're talking about all the departments together?
They can be done, an assessment would typically be done on site, but it can be done remotely.
Yeah.
When we would come here, we would talk to people, we would interview people as well.
Okay.
And that would be, but for the service, when we connect on the service, if you have an issue, we basically connect into that system and take a look at it.
Okay.
And that's providing the service remotely.
Now, are we looking to connect all of our departments into one server, like fire and rescue? Do they have computers? Are they online?
Yeah, but there's other security issues with EMS and things like that that would have to be
Yeah.
addressed.
Right, so in a similar way that we found with this other town that I spoke to you about,
Well,
where you can take common infrastructure and allow it to fail over to each other if you have an event that requires it to do so.
So that would be linking all town departments together?
Good.
Good, that's
Good.
a
And
possibility.
then it depends on money,
Yeah,
but
I know,
inter-office
I know.
emails, inter-office stuff like that, yeah,
Is
absolutely.
there a ballpark figure for an assessment?
For a one-day assessment, I can work that out for you. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be, I'd make it pretty affordable.
Pretty affordable, meaning,
Well, you're probably looking at, for an 8-hour day, about $12.50.
$12.50 an hour?
No.
$1,250.
$1,250.
That's what I'm thinking, $12.50 an hour.
That would include the preparation and the documentation.
Okay, so,
And you would get most that you needed out of that one day.
okay,
There might be a few additional things that we have to follow up on that we
Okay.
would include, but it depends on what information we can pull out of you
Okay.
versus go find.
okay,
So always, if we can do it in an interview, we make it a lot easier
okay,
if you have the information, but you won't always. You have to go looking.
okay.
And it depends on how many different departments you want us to talk to.
Currently, we're not able to use credit or debit cards, are we?
You are.
You are? Yes, I can do that now? Okay.
But is it secure? When you were talking about security concerns,
Okay,
it kind of
We go
secured
through a
me.
company called PayPal.
Yeah.
Not PayPal. Okay, my brain already checked out of the
Yeah.
building. Point and pay. Yeah,
Okay.
point and pay. So, they're as secure as your building is. You can have firewalls that are so bad you can't get anything out or anything in. It all depends, Sandy. So, right now we do have point and pay. for
Obviously,
credit.
watching the news and
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys know better than we do, that
It all
anything can
depends
be
on where you
hacked.
store that information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask.
Like, if you have someone come in with a credit card and you write it down on something,
Hmm.
Yeah,
Then-
no,
then you're
that's
asking for it.
Now, off-site backup, things like that,
Mhm.
where you guys must have obviously, and you have 4 different locations as far as your main places of business. Do you have off-site storage, off-site backup? Where would that be? I if it was for us, for example, where would that be?
You would replicate from maybe your town hall to your school. It depends where your hub is and how many different departments you can take advantage of. Maybe your fire and police, you would replicate there. You could do that between your facilities versus taking that on offsite and paying for co-location. with
Well,
it said.
yeah, I
You
mean,
don't
if there's
necessarily
an
have to-
earthquake in this area or, or a massive fire or anything like that, you know,
Right.
just some of the things I'm learning, we could lose everything in this whole area, that's what my question, I guess, is how far would you guys recommend being outside that perimeter area? You never know what might happen, I get that.
Really, it would, at that point, you would have to weigh the risks with the cost,
Yeah.
What's the possibility of that once in 1,000 year earthquake happening, versus cost?
Yeah.
We did the city of SeaTac, and they had their city office is on the opposite side of the city from their fire station, so they replicate between the sites. And that's good enough for them, because they believe that if one building happened to catch fire, they'd have, emergency response would be at the other location, or vice versa. So if they're able to, at least for the city, be able to bring up their information system so they can pull up records for, buildings and things like that. So that's what they were trying to do emergency response for. They talked about going off-site, but if there's nothing left of the city, for them, they didn't care at that point if the system went there.
Bigger problems at that point.
Exactly, yeah. So you have to really weigh what's your risk for cost.
Sure. Sure.
Most of the time, if you can find another facility in your own town or in your own business that you can use as a DR site, it's much more cost effective for you
Makes
to be able to do that. Because then you can control both sides, you have the security of both sides. You're already paying for electricity and everything else, and you're not paying those rental fees for that one time that may never ever happen.
Yep. It's good sense.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to do it. It depends on what you have to, and how many systems you have to combine and what they have to offer. What do they currently have? What can be done to augment? What can be refurbished equipment versus new equipment?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different ways to look at it. With your credit card that you mentioned, are you swiping cards when your residents are paying with a credit card? Are you using a card swipe?
Yeah.
Is it encrypted? Because that makes a difference as well. Okay.
I really
So
don't
those are
know at
things
this
that-
point.
Oh my God.
I've gotten so far, like I had said, I haven't been here that long, these guys.
So we
I've
would
gotten
be-
so far to know that we have a tower acting as a server. We do not have a hub,
Okay.
which made me giggle when you said it.
So we would be concerned with your service. Is reputable service, but as far as the swipe itself, it can be encrypted, non-encrypted.
Yeah.
How are you transmitting that data? Is that secure? If it's
Yeah.
encrypted at the swipe, you don't really have to. You're covered.
Yeah.
So you just want to make sure that you have those current swipes, and if they're going directly to point and pay, you're probably okay. That's something we could look at.
Yeah, as far as I know, they're going directly to point and pay, but if somebody rerouted it, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Okay. Or if there's
It's not something I can tell.
Okay, or if they're saving the information on the credit card when they're billing, or when they're setting that up.
Yeah.
If they're taking that down and putting it into disk somewhere, they're storing it somewhere. Or writing it down on
No,
paper,
it's
that's stuff you have to look
but
at.
it gets swiped, but I don't think there's
Okay,
I don't know if it's encrypted or not encrypted. I haven't
That's
gone
easy to find
that
out.
far.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
So those would be some of the things that we look at there.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
Great ideas.
your operating system, XP, would not be compliant.
Yeah.
So we have to look at that as well. Yeah. So we could look at things like that and make recommendations on what you need to do to bring it into compliance or deliver against certain needs you have. It's not always about compliance, it's about, what you need to do as well.
Within that budget, prioritize.
Right, and then you'll have numbers that can work, and you'll have things to consider that you have questions about.
For me, it's mostly disaster recovery. If I feel good about disaster recovery, then can we get up and operating, and how long will it take us to do that? That's my big push, if we can cover disaster recovery. But I mean, they just tell me they want to see some future changes as we go along. So that's kind of where we are.
Okay, there's a lot of things you can do with disaster recovery. So
Yeah.
we're looking at multiple sites.
I'm already
and-
feeling a little better with getting Barracuda in there. I've done running, so feeling a little better about that. I know if our financial system
something so critical as having a failure at one facility, that being able to bring everything up to another and just immediately switch things over. There's ways to do that, and, you know, they all come with different price points. That's something you have to evaluate pretty closely.
Yeah, very good. I don't have anything. You got anything?
So my recommendation would be to start with that assessment and do it, and then figure out really what your needs are, where your deficiencies lie, and what you should be looking at.
Okay. You have a question from the audience?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I just, a clarification about something you said earlier about the assessment. You would do the assessment, which would then, and help us to build an RFP, which could then be presented to other bidders, for lack of a better word, other bidders.
Exactly.
So that would be something you would help us to develop, what our needs are, what we need to ask, the questions we need to ask, the things we need to ask for. That would be part of that assessment you did.
Yes. Yeah,
That's-
because we could definitely do that. I mean, it'd be, and it would be open. We do an open RFP where it's not, like I said, it doesn't specify specific
Right.
pieces of hardware, specific numbers. It gives everyone an opportunity to participate and come forward with their best proposal. And they're going to be submitting a detail on everything that they're proposing, why they feel it's the best fit for your requirements, and you'll find differences between all of them and different price points. But we'll come up with a baseline of what your requirements, should be starting with as far as what needs to be met, and enough detail there that allows them to respond. And then they'll have questions around that, and you'll probably have to come back to us for clarification on some things.
How is that fair, I guess is my question, if you're gonna bid on it as well, if you're writing the RFP?
We're not telling you what the equipment is, we're telling you what your needs are. So we would bid based on what we feel is the best fit. Your other vendors would bid based on what they feel is the best fit. So it leaves it completely open.
So the needs would be just pretty generic, we need 4 computers.
It'd be a little more than that, yeah, so we put in a little more detail than just that, but yeah, we have to determine, exactly what they have to serve and include that in the RFP. So, but without saying we want you to quote HP, Dell, whomever, and give the specification, there'll be different vendors that work with different companies. And they'll provide a proposal based on, what they feel is the best fit and who they're aligned with.
Also, how much time they think it's gonna take to implement, it can be different, based on the solutions. Some people can say it takes a week, some can say it takes a day, it's gonna depend on the solution, as far as, how to back up solutions, doing DR, so that's how it'll be fair, because they're gonna have a different way of presenting that to you.
Did
Ours
I-
may not come up with the cheapest solution.
Right.
Will you guys be setting up a system or working our system towards being able to grow as time goes on? As computers typically do, computer systems,
Yeah, be able to expand it
Yes.
and grow on what you have.
they have the ability
Yeah, absolutely.
to expand.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do that today. Things do reach, at some point, they reach an end of life where they can't be reverse engineered any longer as new capabilities come out. But as far as stretching your budget and coming up with options that expand your system, yeah, we wouldn't sell you a closed system that you would be able to expand again. But over the course of the history of that equipment, the life of it, it does have a life cycle. And equipment does come off what they call end of service life at some point, where the manufacturer discontinues it, and they have federal requirements they have to meet for the continuance of support of the hardware component and then support of the software that's on it. And they have certain guidelines that they have to extend that support for, and then they can just drop it. So then we have to go, what I would say, third or second party on support if you were in that situation, where the manufacturer's no longer supporting it, or replacement or whatever. We would have to look at a third party way to do that if you had to extend the life of the equipment beyond that. So it does happen. Those terms though are like 5 and 7 years on hardware and software. Yeah. So if you bought something that was unknown, was going to be discontinued the next day, you'd be all set for 5 to 7 years. So you'd be able to carry support forward.
All right, thank you very much.
Do you want her to send me something I give there anything at this point that we could be looking from the,
I can send you a proposal for an assessment if you'd like, if that's acceptable.
that
That would
would
be
be
good.
great.
Okay,
You have my email, correct?
I do, yeah, thank you.
Okay, if you could send it to me, I'll make sure that we have it
Okay, great,
and move on.
great,
Okay.
very good.
Very good.
Thanks for inviting us in. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, it's been,
All here for coming, yeah.
Yeah.
my head's spinning.
Board of Selectmen in Herman? No, you did serve a term there, yeah.
Yeah.
So a small town, so he knows what you're going through, what you have to try to meet for the town. Gone to many of those meetings. So, and, so, but we'd be happy to work with you and help you.
Great.
Great, sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
I like that,
Thank you.
thank you very much.